In the vast and mighty Achaemenid Empire, where the land stretched from the Indus River to the heart of Greece, punishment wasn't always swift. Sometimes, it was slow, ritualistic, and inhumanely deliberate. Among the known punishment methods of the ancient world, Scaphism stands out for its bizarre yet highly calculated cruelty. This wasn't just execution. It was a spectacle, a prolonged dance with death under the sun. Scaphism gets its name from the Greek word scaphi, meaning boat, which is appropriate given how the victim was entombed alive within two boats. The origins of this torture are often traced to the reign of Artaxerxes II of Persia, 404–358 BCE, a time when rebellion and treachery were seen not only as threats to the king's rule but as insults to the divine order. For such crimes, mere death was inadequate. The body and soul had to be dismantled in public view. The most documented case is that of a soldier named Mithridates. His crime, boasting about killing a rival king, a deed officially credited to the king's own brother. Mithridates' pride led to his doom, and the court sentenced him to Scaphism, turning him into the living symbol of hubris crushed under divine and royal wrath. His punishment would echo through history as one of the worst deaths imaginable. Before the suffering could begin, there was ritual. Unlike simple death sentences, Scaphism victims were usually publicly shamed. They were stripped of their garments and dignity. Their name was read aloud before the masses, often followed by loud curses or religious chants that declared them as enemies of order and cosmic balance. The condemned was then led to a stagnant swamp, where the execution devices, two hollowed-out wooden boats or halves of a log, waited. The boats were designed to seal the prisoner within, exposing only the head, arms, and legs. To the bystanders, it looked like the victim had become one with the vessel. But what followed was no unity, it was disintegration. The prisoner was placed in the lower half of the boat and the upper part was placed over him and nailed shut. But not before every exposed inch of his skin was coated with milk and honey. This wasn't done in reverence. It was an offering to the insects. Honey was poured into the eyes and ears, rubbed onto the genitals and anus, and even trickled into the mouth. The victim, gagging and sobbing, became an unwilling feast. The real horror of Scaphism began once the victim was left alone, drifting in swamp waters or chained along the edge of a still lake. With the body smeared in sugary sweetness and exposed to the blazing sun, insects arrived in droves. Flies swarmed first, laying eggs in every crevice. Mosquitoes feasted on the skin. Ants, beetles, wasps, and hornets soon joined the ghastly party. But that was only half the torment. Several times a day, the executioners returned, not to check on the prisoner's welfare but to force-feed him more milk and honey. Often, it was pumped down the throat using funnels. The result, explosive diarrhea. The victim would be marinating in their own feces. Soon, the combination of feces, heat, and sugar created an unbearable stench, a signal for an even more grotesque invasion. Maggots began to spawn in the wounds. Larvae hatched and burrowed deep into the skin, eating away at flesh. Bugs entered the ears and nose, digging tunnels into the sinuses. The eyes swelled with infection. Birds pecked at the face. No part of the body remained untouched. Every second was torture. Every breath was a struggle. Days passed. The victim was no longer recognizable as human. The skin blistered and burst. Pus oozed from sores. Gangrene took hold. Yet, the heart kept beating. The mind, though fraying, still registered pain. Hallucinations began. Victims often reported seeing loved ones, hearing music, or believing they were being rescued. These were not moments of peace. They were signs of madness. Mithridates, according to chroniclers, began to speak in riddles. He sang in languages unknown. On the fifth day, he thought he was floating above the earth, free of his body. But he wasn't. His flesh had turned necrotic. Flies drank from his open wounds. Maggots consumed his thighs. His lips, bitten by birds and insects, bled constantly. The guards laughed. Some placed bets on which body part would rot off first. This wasn't just punishment. It was entertainment. The agony was extended not just by design, but by cruelty. They say he begged for death on day 7. But Scaphism allowed no such escape. Not yet. The final days were the most pitiful. By now, the victim's tongue had swollen from thirst. The mouth was dry yet sticky with honey. His eyes were sealed shut by pus. Breathing came in rattled wheezes. The heart slowed. The body, barely holding on, convulsed with fever and infection. Some victims lasted 10 days. Others 12. Mithridates is said to have endured for 17 harrowing days, each one a new level of torment. His groin was infected beyond recognition. His toes fell off. Insects nested inside his body. His internal organs had started to shut down. He couldn't scream anymore. He couldn't see. He simply existed, in pain. On the final day, it's said he went completely silent. No movement. No response. A guard, thinking he was dead, poked him with a spear. He twitched. Still alive. But not for long. His breath became more shallow until it stopped altogether. Death, when it finally came, was not mercy. It was the end of an experiment in how long a man could be kept alive while being consumed. Scaphism left a scar not just on those who endured it, but on civilization's memory. Even among brutal cultures, it stood out for its creativity and cruelty. Unlike other methods meant to kill quickly, this was a slow performance. The victim was the stage. Nature was the executioner. The empire, the audience. Some historians debate the authenticity of the method. Plutarch, the primary Greek source, may have exaggerated details to cast Persia as barbaric. But even if half of the tale is true, Scaphism represents the darkest recesses of human imagination. Pain wasn't enough. The body had to rot. The spirit had to be broken. And society had to watch. Today, Scaphism is studied not just in torture chambers of history but in psychology. Proof that cruelty can be systemic, rehearsed, and justified in the name of order. It warns us that any system, religious or political, that worships obedience over humanity can devise horrors without flinching. As for Mithridates, no tomb marks his resting place. His bones dissolved into swamp water. But his story remains, a testament to the unfathomable extremes of human punishment. Torture Vault will return with another descent into darkness. Subscribe for daily journeys into the cruel, the cursed, and the condemned. You've just witnessed one of the darkest punishments in history. But many more still lurk in the shadows. So if you dare, subscribe to Torture Vault, where every scream from the past still echoes.